Chapter 25. The Fleece. Russ had a great job at a phosphate company. He had numerous positions, but eventually was an engineer on a train, which paid very well. We were living in a modular trailer next to his parents, but by the end of 1978, we began looking to buy a brick and mortar house. We found a lovely home and a new church in Apollo Beach, not far from Ruskin. We quickly settled in. I began working a seasonal job at the local cannery. My job was not glamorous. I stood for 8 hours removing rotten tomatoes from a large black conveyor belt. I would become so nauseous that I'd have to step away for a second or two to keep from adding my own concoction to the mixture traveling down the belt. As I stood there, I considered what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I knew it wasn't going to be this. Considering what I had done in the past, I was leaning toward becoming a nurse again. I was a candy striper in high school, assisted in a home for disabled children, filed charts in medical records, worked for 2 doctors, and was a nurse's aide in a nursing home for a short time. It seemed nursing was the logical choice. The glamour of wearing a cap and uniform as I walked the hospital hallways was exciting. The thought of going back to school, cracking books, and studying all night was not. I casually mentioned the idea to my sister-in-law, Jeannie, who exclaimed, "We could become nurses together!" It wasn't long before the entire family had heard and everyone was on board but me. The more the rumor spread, the more evident it became it was anticipated we would go to nursing school whether I wanted to or not. I made an appointment with our pastor to explain my dilemma. The whole thing had gotten out of hand. I wasn't sure I wanted to be a nurse, or even if it was God's will. Then he suggested I lay a fleece before the Lord as Gideon had done in Judges 6:40. Gideon was fearful and lacked faith, so he asked God to do the impossible as a sign that God truly wanted him to perform the task before him. I wasn't that familiar with fleeces, and it didn't sound feasible to me. However, I decided if it would help me avoid school, I was willing to try it. I mulled it over in my mind, wondering what kind of fleece I should use. It had to be convincing enough that no one would suspect I was attempting to avoid school, yet conniving enough that it would ensure I wouldn't be going. Then it occurred to me. There's an entrance exam that had a lot of arithmetic. Jeannie was smart, but not when it came to math problems. I told the family I had prayed about it and felt that if either of us failed the entrance exam, then it was a sign we weren't meant to attend nursing school. For some reason that was acceptable, and no one questioned my motive. August 1979, we took the test. It was a difficult exam, so I was confident we would not be going to nursing school. My results came in, and I had passed. When the phone rang that afternoon, it was Jeannie. Her results had come back too. She was so excited as she had passed as well. I was stunned. I wondered if I should have chosen a different fleece. It took a while, but I resigned myself to the fact that I was going back to school and prayed the Lord would help me get through it. Jeannie was the most compassionate person I'd ever known. Thoughtful and sweet. There was no doubt she was going to make a great nurse, and I looked forward to spending time with her. We enjoyed the 45-minute commute and the time we spent studying together. After the 3rd week, Jeannie was called into the office. They were apologetic as they told her she hadn't been doing well on her tests. They reviewed her initial records and realized a mistake had been made. She failed the entrance exam and should not have been accepted. It was unbelievable. It seemed God orchestrated a convoluted plan in which he proved 2 things. He controls everything and has a clever sense of humor. I believe he allowed me to seek my pastor's advice so I would create a foolproof scenario, which he overrode by confusing the test results. He proved my escape plan really was foolproof. God convinced me beyond a shadow of a doubt that nursing school was His plan for me, not just a whim on my part. God could have just given me a desire to go to nursing school. Jeannie's test would have been corrected properly, and she would have immediately gone on to become a nursing assistant. There would have been no memorable event with a God incident for me to record. God would not have been given the glory, and I would not have come to the realization that He truly is in control of everything, regardless of our plans. He does what He wants. I know that you can do all things. No purpose of yours can be thwarted. Job 42:2. Jeannie became a wonderful nursing assistant, and I became an LPN, licensed practical nurse. Stan sent flowers to me with a note that read, "Congratulations to the only person in the family who almost became a doctor."